From the Athens Tech Studios, this is the Athens News Podcast. Local news you can use about Athens and Clark County, all in 7 minutes. And now, here are your top stories.
Hello and welcome to the Athens News Podcast. I'm Melissa Carter. Coming up, we're going to talk to JP Lemay, who is running for tax commissioner on May 21st. Plus, may the 4th be with your taste buds as we dive into a special Star Wars treat available in Athens. But first, here are your top stories brought to you by Drake Realty. Following Monday's Israel-Gaza protests at the University of Georgia, all 16 individuals arrested for trespassing have been released from jail. Notably, 10 of the arrestees were students. The University of Georgia, in response, released a statement saying it reaffirms its commitment to the First Amendment rights while emphasizing campus safety. The encampment on the North Campus quad, marked by tents and barricades, breached university policies on freedom of expression and campus regulations. They continued to say, despite repeated warnings, protesters refused to comply, leading to their arrest. This from the AJC. The University of Georgia is under scrutiny for its response to students arrested during Monday's protest. Many of the arrestees have reportedly been suspended from classes at UGA, prompting criticism from both students and faculty. Zeena Mohamed, one of the protest organizers and an arrestee, expressed surprise at the suspension, emphasizing that the protest aimed to raise awareness without disrupting classes. UGA Associate Professor Janet Frick denounced the suspensions as excessive and questioned why political protesters face harsher penalties than those for academic misconduct. Despite inquiries, UGA's Communications Division has remained silent on that matter. This from 11 Alive. Tragedy struck early Tuesday morning in Athens as a fatal DUI hit-and-run claimed the life of 34-year-old Michael Kitchen of Madison. Responding to a crash on West Broad Street at 3:40 a.m., Athens Clark County Police found Kitchen unresponsive in the road. Despite efforts, he succumbed to his injuries at a local hospital. Ben Hertisfai, a 21-year-old from Lilburn, has been arrested and charged with DUI, vehicular homicide, and hit-and-run in connection to the incident. Investigations are ongoing, and authorities urge anyone with information to contact SBO Lays at 762-400-7169 or joey.lewis@accgov.com. This from WUGA. Primary elections are coming up on May 21st, and we're going to interview some of the candidates for the various offices here in Athens, Clark County. Our first is JP Lemay, who is running for Athens, Clark County Tax Commissioner. He is endorsed by current ACC Tax Commissioner Tony Meadow and former ACC Deputy Tax Commissioner James Finley. So why does he think that he is qualified to get your vote for Tax Commissioner? We'll find out coming up next.
A new, exciting podcast about dads for dads. Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads. Download now wherever you get your podcasts.
It pays to know your doctor. It pays to know your lawyer. And now more than ever, it pays to know your local real estate professional. Hi, I'm Jeffrey Drake with Drake Realty, and we have 7 offices in the metro Atlanta area, including 2 right here in Cobb County and 1 at Lake Oconee. I'm the proud leader of over 700 agents here in Georgia, and we pride ourselves in professional service, whether you are the buyer or the seller. Drake Realty makes the home buying process seamless from contract to close. Our agents are a little different. They're not pushing for the quick sale and close. They are pushing for the best price and terms for their client. In other words, Drake Realty fights for you. Now's the time to buy that dream home, vacation home, or new home your family deserves. A lot of real estate agents talk big. Let my team at Drake Realty prove they will fight for you. I'm Jeffrey Drake, and I'd be honored to have my team serve you. Visit us online at drakerealty.com. And remember, it's not how quick you sell or buy, it's what the deal provides for your future.
We are joined now by JP Lemay, who is running for office for Clark County Tax Commissioner in late May. JP, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Doing good. Well, the primary is May 21st, and I know there's a lot of people who may not think about voting in the primary and just are thinking, oh, well, I'll wait to November. So explain why voting in May is extremely important.
Well, this is a very important election for Clark County this year. In addition to the tax commissioner primary, the sheriff's office is contested, and as well as the coroner. And we also have several commission seats up in this election. That's a very important election for everybody to be involved in.
local politics, even though for some may sound boring, it's going to likely affect your life far more. And is this fair to say it's going to affect your life far more usually than those federal elections?
I would agree with that. I think they say all politics is local. So everything really starts at that local involvement stage. And that's where getting out and making your voice heard is very important.
So let's talk about taxes. I would love for you to explain for people what your job would be if elected and what you can and cannot do. So I would love to hear like the top things that a tax commissioner wish people understood.
Well, the tax commissioner in Georgia, it's a constitutionally mandated office, so every county has one. And the tax commissioner bills and collects the taxes that are due, especially people might be most familiar with property taxes. They also handle motor vehicle registrations for the state of Georgia. Here in Clark County, we do have a separate tag office that handles that, and that is under the tax commissioner's office. Your property value is set by the Board of Assessors, and the millage rates that are set by the county commission and by the school board determine what your tax bill will be for any given year. The tax commissioner has really no power to lower your tax bill, but they do administer exemptions that are available for people depending on your circumstances. There's a homestead exemption if you live in your home. There are senior exemptions available for people over 65, and those things can help lower your tax bill a bit. And the tax commissioner office helps you determine which exemptions you are qualified for and helps you make sure you're applied for and have those properly credited to your tax bill.
So I assume the number one thing is when people say, hey, Mr. Lemay, I need you to lower my taxes. That's when you have to say, that's not my job.
That is very accurate. That's probably the number one question I get from people.
I bet. Well, Athens is growing and the county is growing. So it's one of those things where it's a catch-22, I would assume, because, you need taxes to pay for some of the services you have, but yet people always groan when their taxes go up, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm in the same boat as a lot of people. I bought my house 5 years ago. The value has gone up quite a bit in that time, and my tax bill has gone up accordingly. The flip side of that is my house is worth more. So there is a good and bad to both sides of that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your background. And if people are like, okay, why should I vote for JP Lemay? What's your answer?
I have lived in Athens for 15 years, and I have worked for the unified government for just over 10 years. The first 8 years, I was working directly with both the tax commissioner and tax assessor offices as part of my assigned duties as an IT systems analyst. I've been with them through all of their major processes throughout the year, including creating the property tax digest, working through tax bills going out, and the collection period. Those experiences have allowed me to understand how to work within the unified government. It is an independent office, but you do still rely on the county for your budget, and there are a lot of projects going on now that are going to require some of that inside knowledge. So I'll be able to step in on day one and start working for the voters and the taxpayers immediately without having much of a ramp up for knowledge.
I know that you can go to jpfortc.com to find out more about JP. Is there anything you'd like to tell residents of Athens and Clark County about when it comes to their taxes, something they can do to make it easier on themselves, or any mistakes you might see that they make when handling things for your office?
Pay close attention to any notices that you receive. We'll have property tax assessment notices going out from the assessor's office in mid-May. That will list what your estimated taxes are expected to be. It is not the final number on what your tax bill will look like. That will depend on what the school board and the county commission set for their millage rate. But if you have any worries about that assessment value, that is the time for you to contact the assessor's office, and if you feel you need to file an appeal, to do that. Once the tax bills come out, that is set, and we have no power to change that except for, as I mentioned, helping you with your exemptions. Those are only good for the first full year after they're applied for. So even if you applied for an exemption this year, it would not apply until the following tax year, starting January 1st.
JP Lemay, thank you so much again for your time to join our podcast, and good luck this spring.
Thank you.
Achieve more with Athens Tech. At Athens Technical College, their programs can connect you with in-demand and high-paying careers.
I graduated from Athens Tech in May and started my job 2 weeks later. I had the job before I left, thanks to my professor, and just focusing on growing a career.
As far as Athens Tech, I think I've been a member of the advisory panel for 10 years now, and it's been an awesome experience.
I'm currently going to Athens Tech. I started out as an accounting major. I've finished all my accounting classes and then switched over to the culinary and baking program.
My name is Alex Lang. I'm an electromechanical engineering student. This is my second year at Athens Tech, and I graduate in December. The long-term goal is to work for the railroad, whether that be Norfolk Southern or CSX.
Achieve more with Athens Tech. Find out more at athenstech.edu.
From the Athens Clarke County News Facebook page, Andrew Nash posted Lost, a blue London Fog vintage taffeta all-weather rain jacket, last seen at Winder Center for Nursing and Healing in Winder sometime in the middle of March. Well, Cindy Beneo said, my dad was there for a year and they lost his clothes all the time. I finally asked them if an employee could go room to room with me and check the closets and drawers. I found most of his clothes this way. Best of luck. And Marty Sherrill said, hate to say it, but wouldn't be the first time an employee walked off with something. The University of Georgia came together in solemn remembrance on Tuesday for its annual Candlelight Memorial, honoring students, faculty, and staff who passed away since April of 2023. Gathered at the UGA Chapel, nearly 100 individuals from the university and surrounding community paid tribute to those lives lost. Each name was spoken aloud by campus leaders, accompanied by the lighting of candles and the solemn tolling of the chapel bell by the UGA Army ROTC. Outside the chapel, students and supporters embraced, sharing condolences and fond memories. This from the Red and Black. In sports from the Red and Black, Tom Gibbons won the men's pro race at last weekend's Athens Twilight Criterium. Alexis Magner took home gold in the women's pro criterium for the second consecutive year. And finally, in honor of May the 4th be with you, a celebration between Disney's Lucasfilms and the Dairy Farmers of America brings you True Moo Blue Milk. Fans can now sip on the iconic blue milk seen in the original Star Wars movie. This 1% fat, vanilla-flavored delight comes in half-gallon containers, and this is a true dairy product, unlike the coconut and rice-based versions found at Disney's theme parks. This limited-time offering will vanish into hyperspace in July. This from the Washington Times.
Thanks for listening to the Athens News Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.
This podcast aggregate content from other sources for informational purposes and is in no way trying to infringe on the copyrights or businesses of any other entities. All content posted up on the site is used under the Fair Use Copyright Law 107. All audio, media, and articles are copyrighted to the original owners. All audio on this podcast are embedded from YouTube.com and are owned by their respective copyright owners. No audio information are copyrighted or stored on our servers. The court ruled that linking or embedding copyrighted videos is not copyright infringement, even if the source video was uploaded without permission. However, we will gladly remove any audio clip upon valid request from respective copyright owners. Any owners also have the option to disable embedding his YouTube videos on other websites. News and press articles are owned by the respective copyright owners. Where possible, the appropriate accreditation or source of the article is given on the same page. The audio-video files on the site are for listening purposes only. Downloading of these files to one's computer is strictly prohibited. They are owned by the respective copyright owners. If it is in the organization's belief that the usage or specific content used on our site containing copyrighted knowledge conflicts with authorized use and/or does not comply with fair use as described in the context, contact us through our contact page and we will remove the offending content immediately. Thanks for listening to the Athens News Podcast.